This is the deeply emotional story of Emma Rutherford and Sebastian Albright, two souls whose intense, poetic love blossomed in the vibrant summer of their youth in America. Their connection was undeniable, a future seemingly destined. But a single, desperate act of jealousy, a letter intercepted and lost, cast a long shadow over their lives, leading to decades of unspoken longing and separate paths. What happens when a confession, meant to bridge hearts, finally finds its way home after half a century? Can a love lost in time truly be reclaimed, burning brighter and more intensely than ever before? I invite you to settle in, subscribe to our channel if you haven't already, and please, share in the comments where you're listening from today. Emma and Sebastian's inspiring journey is about to begin. The summer of 1972 unfolded across the American landscape with a languid grace, painting the days in hues of endless sunshine and the nights in the soft glow of fireflies. For Sebastian Albright, then a young man on the cusp of his future, it was a season etched in the vibrant colors of first love, a feeling so profound it consumed his very being. His world revolved around Emma Rutherford, a girl whose laughter was a melody he carried in his heart, whose eyes held a depth that mirrored the vastness of his own burgeoning emotions. Their connection was a delicate, yet fiercely intense bond, woven from shared dreams whispered under starlit skies and stolen glances across crowded rooms. Sebastian found himself drawn to Emma with an almost magnetic force, a pull that transcended mere youthful infatuation. It was a love that felt ancient, destined, a poetic symphony playing out in the quiet corners of their small town. He saw her in every sunrise, heard her in every gentle breeze, felt her presence in the very air he breathed. Their moments together, whether a shared ice cream cone on a park bench or a long walk along the dusty country roads, were imbued with an unspoken promise, a future they both instinctively knew was meant to be intertwined. Their hands would brush, their eyes would meet, and in those fleeting seconds, an entire universe of intense, uncontrollable passion would ignite between them, a silent confession of a love that felt both fragile and eternal. He spent his evenings at his worn wooden desk, the soft glow of a lamp illuminating his earnest face, translating the overwhelming torrent of his feelings into words. Each sentence was carefully chosen, each phrase imbued with the raw, poetic intensity of his young heart. The paper, a simple sheet of stationery, became a sacred canvas for his soul's deepest confession. He wrote of Emma's radiant smile, the way her hair caught the sunlight, the profound peace he found simply in her presence. He poured out his hopes, his fears, his unwavering belief in their shared future, crafting a love letter that was not just a message, but a piece of his very essence, a testament to a love so consuming it felt like the very air he breathed. The letter, once folded and sealed with a hopeful hand, was addressed to Emma, her name penned with a reverence that spoke volumes. It was a tangible piece of his heart, a declaration meant to bridge the small distance between their homes, to solidify the unspoken promise of their summer love. He imagined her reading it, her eyes tracing his words, a blush rising to her cheeks, and a smile gracing her lips. He pictured her understanding, her heart echoing the same intense poetic passion that had driven his hand across the page. This letter was to be the turning point, the moment their unspoken love would finally find its voice, a testament to a connection that felt both fragile and eternal. However, in the periphery of their blossoming romance, a shadow lingered. Lila, a girl who had long harbored her own quiet, unrequited affection for Sebastian, watched their connection with a growing ache in her chest. Her jealousy, a bitter seed planted deep within her, began to sprout, twisting her perception, clouding her judgment. She saw not the beauty of their love, but the pain of her own longing, the stark reality of a future Sebastian would never share with her. Her heart, burdened by its own secret devotion, saw the letter not as a confession of love, but as a symbol of her own inevitable heartbreak, a tangible proof of her exclusion. One sweltering afternoon, as Sebastian prepared to entrust his precious letter to the mailbox. A chance encounter with Lila changed its fate. He had left it momentarily on the porch table, a fleeting distraction pulling him inside. Lila, passing by, saw the envelope, her name, Emma's name, written in Sebastian's distinctive hand. A cold dread settled over her, quickly followed by a surge of desperate, irrational impulse. In that moment, a silent battle raged within her. The faint whisper of conscience against the overwhelming roar of her wounded heart. The letter, a fragile vessel of profound emotion, lay vulnerable, a silent testament to a love that felt both fragile and eternal. Her fingers, trembling slightly, reached for the envelope. The paper felt heavy, imbued with the weight of Sebastian's unexpressed love. A quick glance around confirmed her solitude. With a swift, almost involuntary movement, she slipped the letter into her own bag, her heart pounding with a mixture of guilt and a perverse sense of desperate triumph. The act was done, irreversible. The letter, meant to bridge hearts, was now a secret, a silent testament to a love that felt both fragile and eternal. The summer breeze, unaware of the quiet betrayal, continued to rustle the leaves, carrying with it the unspoken promise of a future that would now be irrevocably altered. Sebastian, returning moments later, found the table empty. A flicker of confusion, then a growing unease, settled over him. He searched, his brow furrowed, a knot forming in his stomach. The letter, his heartfelt confession, was gone. He retraced his steps, questioned his memory, but the truth remained elusive. The unspoken promise of summer, the vibrant hues of his first love, began to fade, replaced by a creeping uncertainty, a quiet despair. He could not know the silent act that had just transpired, the small, desperate gesture that would cast a long, cold shadow over his future with Emma, altering the course of their lives in ways neither could ever foresee. The intense, poetic love he felt, now trapped in an unread letter, would become a ghost, a haunting melody of what might have been, a testament to a love that felt both fragile and eternal. The summer, once a vibrant canvas of burgeoning love for Sebastian Albright and Emma Rutherford, slowly began to lose its luster, fading into the muted tones of unspoken questions and growing distance. Sebastian, bewildered by the disappearance of his heartfelt letter, found himself adrift in a sea of uncertainty. He searched his memory, replaying every moment, every interaction, trying to pinpoint where his confession might have gone astray. A quiet despair settled over him, a heavy cloak that muffled the once bright melody of his affection for Emma. He believed his courage had failed him, that his words had somehow been lost to the winds of chance, leaving his intense, poetic love unexpressed and unheard. Emma, on her part, noticed the subtle shift in Sebastian. The easy laughter that once flowed between them became more hesitant, the stolen glances less frequent, replaced by a quiet reserve she couldn't quite decipher. She waited, with a hopeful heart, for a sign, a word, an affirmation of the profound connection she felt. Her own love for Sebastian was a deep, unwavering current, a feeling so intense it pulsed beneath the surface of her everyday life. She saw the longing in his eyes, the unspoken words that seemed to linger on his lips. Yet a barrier, invisible and impenetrable, had risen between them. The absence of his expected declaration, the silence where a passionate confession should have been, began to sow seeds of doubt, a quiet ache that resonated with the poetic intensity of a love that felt both fragile and eternal. Lila, meanwhile, carried the heavy burden of her secret. The letter, a tangible piece of Sebastian's heart, remained hidden, a constant, silent reminder of her desperate act. Each time she saw Sebastian's confusion or Emma's quiet yearning, a pang of guilt would pierce her, quickly followed by a fierce protective resolve. She rationalized her actions, convincing herself that she had merely saved Sebastian from a love that might not have lasted, or perhaps that she had simply claimed what was rightfully hers, even if only in her own fractured reality. The stolen letter became a twisted talisman, a symbol of a love she could not possess, but could at least prevent. As the summer waned and the crisp air of autumn began to sweep through the American town, Sebastian and Emma found themselves drifting further apart. The demands of school, the pressures of impending adulthood, and the unspoken chasm between them created an insurmountable distance. Sebastian, heartbroken by what he perceived as Emma's lack of reciprocal passion, slowly began to withdraw, his poetic heart aching with the weight of unrequited love. He believed his intense feelings had been too much, too soon, or perhaps simply not enough. The vibrant colors of their summer romance faded into a nostalgic sepia, a beautiful, yet painful memory of what might have been. Emma, witnessing Sebastian's retreat, interpreted his silence as a gentle rejection. Her proud heart, though aching with a love that felt both fragile and eternal, refused to chase what seemed to be slipping away. She carried her own quiet sorrow, a profound sense of loss for a connection she believed had been real, but ultimately unacknowledged. The dreams they had shared under starlit skies became bittersweet echoes, haunting melodies of a future that would now remain unwritten. Her intense, poetic love for Sebastian, once a vibrant flame, now smoldered, a quiet ember in the depths of her soul. Life, with its relentless forward momentum, eventually pulled them onto separate paths. Sebastian left town for college, carrying with him the ghost of Emma's smile and the lingering question of his lost confession. He pursued his studies with a quiet determination, his poetic soul finding solace in literature and art. But a part of him remained forever tethered to that summer, to the intense, unexpressed love he had felt for Emma. He learned to build a life, to find success, to forge new relationships. But the memory of Emma and the profound, unacknowledged passion remained a tender ache, a haunting melody of what might have been. Emma, too, moved forward. She embraced her own education, built a career, and eventually found companionship and love with another. She created a beautiful life, filled with joy and purpose, but there were moments, quiet and unexpected, when a scent, a song, or a fleeting memory would transport her back to that summer, to Sebastian's kind eyes and the intense poetic love she had felt for him. A wistful sigh would escape her, a silent acknowledgement of the road not taken, the love that had remained unspoken, a testament to a connection that felt both fragile and eternal. Lila, years later, still carried the weight of her secret. The letter, now yellowed and brittle with age, remained hidden, a silent testament to a moment of desperate jealousy that had irrevocably altered 3 lives. She had watched Sebastian and Emma drift apart, her initial triumph slowly giving way to a profound, lingering regret. The love she had hoped to gain had never materialized, leaving her with only the hollow victory of a stolen confession. The letter, a ghost of a love unfulfilled, became a constant, silent companion, a heavy reminder of the choices made and the paths forever diverged. The years stretched into decades, weaving a complex tapestry of lives lived, experiences gained, and memories cherished. Sebastian and Emma, though separated by time and circumstance, carried within them the echoes of that summer, the quiet understanding of a profound connection that had been born, but never fully realized. The intense, poetic love they had felt, though unexpressed, remained a tender ache, a haunting melody of what might have been, a testament to a love that felt both fragile and eternal. The letter, lost in time, held the key to a truth that had remained buried, a confession waiting for its moment to finally emerge, to bridge the chasm of years and rewrite the narrative of their intertwined destinies. Decades unfolded, each year adding new layers to the lives of Emma Rutherford and Sebastian Albright, yet never quite erasing the indelible mark of that distant summer. Sebastian, now a man in his early 70s, carried the distinguished bearing of a successful architect, his mind still sharp, his gaze thoughtful. He had built a life of quiet accomplishment, a respected career, and a family he cherished. Yet, in the quiet moments, a wistful melancholy would sometimes settle over him, a ghost of a feeling, an echo of a love that had remained unexpressed. The memory of Emma, her radiant smile, the profound connection they had shared, lingered like a tender ache, a haunting melody of what might have been. His poetic heart, though seasoned by life, still held the imprint of that intense, youthful passion. He often found himself revisiting old haunts in his mind, the park bench where they shared secrets, the dusty roads they walked hand in hand, the starlit skies under which he had dreamed of a future with her. He wondered about her life, about the woman she had become, about the love she had found. The unwritten confession, the letter that had vanished, remained a silent question mark in the tapestry of his past, a testament to a love that felt both fragile and eternal. He had learned to live with the uncertainty, to accept the path his life had taken, but the intensity of his first love, though dormant, was never truly extinguished. Emma, now in her late 60s, lived a life rich in experience and surrounded by the warmth of her own family. She had embraced her career as a beloved educator, nurtured a loving marriage, and found immense joy in her children and grandchildren. Her home, filled with laughter and cherished memories, was a testament to a life well lived. Yet, like Sebastian, there were moments when the past would gently resurface. A particular song on the radio, the scent of summer rain, or a photograph from her youth would transport her back to Sebastian, to his kind eyes and the intense poetic love she had felt for him. A quiet sigh would escape her, a fleeting acknowledgement of the road not taken, the love that had remained unspoken. She often wondered why Sebastian had never pursued her, why the intense connection they shared had simply faded into silence. Her proud heart had long ago accepted the perceived rejection, but a part of her, the part that remembered the profound depth of their bond, still held a quiet curiosity. She had moved on, built a beautiful life, but the ghost of that first, intense love, the poetic promise of a shared future, remained a tender, almost sacred memory, a testament to a love that felt both fragile and eternal. Lila, now an elderly woman living a solitary life, carried the heaviest burden of all. The yellowed, brittle letter, a relic from a distant summer, remained hidden in a forgotten box, a constant, silent companion to her decades of regret. The initial triumph of her desperate act had long since dissolved, replaced by a profound, gnawing guilt. She had watched Sebastian and Emma build separate lives, knowing that her single, selfish act had been the catalyst for their divergence. The love she had hoped to gain had never materialized, leaving her with only the hollow victory of a stolen confession and the bitter taste of a life lived with a profound secret. The weight of the letter, a tangible piece of Sebastian's unexpressed love, pressed down on her with each passing year. It was a silent accusation, a constant reminder of the intense poetic love she had inadvertently destroyed. She had often considered revealing her secret, of returning the letter, but fear and shame had always held her captive. The thought of confronting the pain she had caused, of shattering the carefully constructed realities of Sebastian and Emma, was too overwhelming. So, the letter remained hidden, a silent testament to a love that felt both fragile and eternal, a secret that had shaped not just 3 lives, but the very fabric of their destinies. As the years continued their relentless march, the world around them transformed. Technology advanced, cities grew, and the pace of life quickened. Yet, the human heart, with its timeless capacity for love and longing, remained unchanged. Sebastian and Emma, though living separate lives, were unknowingly connected by that unread letter. a silent testament to a love that felt both fragile and eternal. The intense, poetic love they had felt in their youth, though unexpressed, remained a tender ache, a haunting melody of what might have been, a testament to a love that felt both fragile and eternal. One quiet afternoon, as Lila meticulously sorted through old belongings, preparing for a move to a smaller residence, her trembling fingers brushed against the forgotten box. Inside, nestled amongst faded photographs and forgotten trinkets, lay the letter. Its yellowed paper, its elegant script, brought a flood of memories, a torrent of regret. The weight of decades, the burden of her secret, suddenly felt unbearable. Her heart, heavy with the knowledge of what she had done, knew that the time for silence had finally come to an end. The letter, a ghost of a love unfulfilled, was finally ready to emerge from the shadows, to bridge the chasm of years and rewrite the narrative of their intertwined destinies. The discovery of the yellowed letter in Lila's trembling hands was more than just an unearthing of an old artifact. It was the reawakening of a long-buried truth, a silent confession waiting decades for its voice. The weight of the paper, brittle with age, felt like the accumulated burden of her secret, a testament to the intense, poetic love she had inadvertently suppressed. A profound sense of urgency, mingled with a deep, aching regret, compelled her to act. The time for silence had passed. The time for revelation had finally arrived. With a heavy heart, Lila reached out to a mutual acquaintance, a distant relative of Sebastian's, explaining only that she possessed something of great importance that needed to reach him. The process was slow, filled with the cautious steps of someone trying to right a decades-old wrong without causing further pain. Eventually, a package arrived at Sebastian Albright's distinguished home, an unexpected delivery that held the key to a past he had long since reconciled with, but never truly forgotten. Sebastian, now in his early 70s, opened the package with a mild curiosity. Inside, nestled amongst layers of tissue paper, lay the familiar, elegant script of his own youthful hand. His name, Emma Rutherford's name, penned with a reverence that instantly transported him back to that distant summer. His heart, accustomed to the steady rhythm of a life well lived, suddenly pounded with an unfamiliar intensity. He recognized the paper, the faded ink, the very essence of his young self poured onto that page. It was the letter, the confession he had believed lost to the winds of chance, the testament to a love that felt both fragile and eternal. His fingers, trembling slightly, broke the brittle seal. As he began to read, the words, once a torrent of youthful passion, now resonated with the profound wisdom of a lifetime. He read of his own intense, poetic love for Emma, of his hopes, his dreams, his unwavering belief in their shared future. Each sentence was a revelation, a window into the heart of the young man he once was, a heart that had loved Emma with an intensity that defied time. The realization washed over him with a force that took his breath away. Emma had never known. His confession, his declaration of a love so consuming it felt like the very air he breathed, had never reached her. A wave of emotions, complex and overwhelming, surged through Sebastian. There was the initial shock, then a profound sadness for the lost years, the unwritten chapters of a life they might have shared. But beneath the sorrow, a different feeling began to stir. A rekindled flame of that intense, poetic love, a fierce, almost desperate yearning for the woman who had unknowingly held his heart for so long. The letter, a ghost of a love unfulfilled, was now a vibrant, living truth, a testament to a love that felt both fragile and eternal. Sebastian knew, with an undeniable certainty, that he had to find Emma. The decades of silence, the years of unspoken longing, demanded a resolution. He embarked on a quiet quest, using his resources and connections to locate the woman who had once been the center of his universe. It was a journey fueled by hope, by regret, and by the powerful, unyielding force of a love that had defied time and circumstance. He imagined her face, her laughter, the way her eyes would sparkle, and a profound sense of urgency propelled him forward. Meanwhile, Emma Rutherford, living her full and beautiful life, remained unaware of the seismic shift occurring in Sebastian's world. She continued her routines, cherished her family, and occasionally indulged in the nostalgic echoes of her youth. The memory of Sebastian, though distant, remained a tender, almost sacred part of her past, a testament to a love that felt both fragile and eternal. She had long since accepted the path her life had taken, believing that some loves, no matter how intense, were simply not meant to be. Sebastian's search eventually led him to Emma's quiet, charming neighborhood. He found her address, a familiar street name that stirred a torrent of memories. Standing before her home, a sense of profound trepidation mingled with an exhilarating hope. He held the yellowed letter, his own youthful confession, a tangible bridge across the chasm of decades. His heart pounded with a mixture of fear and an intense, almost desperate anticipation. He was about to unveil a truth that would undoubtedly shake her world, a truth that spoke of a love so consuming it felt like the very air he breathed. He approached her door, the weight of the letter in his hand feeling heavier than any burden he had ever carried. The moment was suspended in time, a culmination of decades of unspoken words, of lost chances, of a love that had remained a haunting melody. He raised his hand to knock, his gaze fixed on the door, his mind racing with the countless possibilities that lay beyond. The intense, poetic love he felt, now armed with its long-lost voice, was finally ready to confront the past, to bridge the chasm of years, and to rewrite the narrative of their intertwined destinies. The knock on Emma Rutherford's door resonated not just through her quiet home, but through the very fabric of her carefully constructed life. She opened it to find Sebastian Albright standing there, a man whose face bore the gentle lines of time, yet whose eyes held the unmistakable intensity of the young man she had once loved. In his hand, he held a yellowed envelope, a relic from a distant summer. The sight of him, after so many decades, was a shock, a profound jolt that instantly transported her back to the vibrant hues of her youth, to the intense, poetic love she had felt for him. Sebastian, his voice a low, steady murmur, explained the letter, the jealousy of a third party, the decades of silence that had followed. He handed her the brittle envelope, his gaze unwavering, filled with a profound tenderness and a quiet plea for understanding. Emma's fingers, trembling slightly, broke the seal. As she began to read, the words, penned by a youthful Sebastian, resonated with an astonishing clarity, a poetic confession of a love so consuming it felt like the very air she breathed. Each sentence was a revelation, a window into a past she had only imagined, a truth that shattered her long-held assumptions. A torrent of emotions washed over Emma. Shock, disbelief, a profound sadness for the lost years. But beneath it all, a powerful, undeniable resurgence of that intense poetic love. The letter was not just a piece of paper. It was a bridge across decades, a tangible proof of a connection she had always felt, but never fully understood. She saw the depth of his feelings, the unwavering belief in their shared future, the raw, beautiful vulnerability of his young heart. The love she had carried as a quiet ember in her soul suddenly burst into a vibrant flame, a testament to a love that felt both fragile and eternal. They spent hours talking, sitting in her sunlit living room, the yellowed letter resting between them like a sacred artifact. They spoke of their separate lives, the paths they had taken, the joys and sorrows that had shaped them. Sebastian shared his lingering questions, his quiet despair over the lost confession. Emma, in turn, spoke of her own confusion, her acceptance of what she believed was an unrequited love. In their shared vulnerability, a profound understanding blossomed, a healing balm for decades of unspoken longing. The intensity of their connection, once a youthful spark, now burned with the steady, powerful flame of mature love, enriched by the wisdom of their years. The revelation of the letter, and the truth it contained, became a catalyst for a new beginning. Their love, once lost in time, was now reclaimed, more precious and profound for the journey it had endured. They began to build a new chapter, a tapestry woven with the threads of their past and the vibrant colors of their present. They revisited old haunts, now with new eyes, each place imbued with the bittersweet beauty of what might have been and the exhilarating joy of what now was. Their hands would often find each other, a silent affirmation of a bond that had defied time and circumstance. Their families, initially surprised by this extraordinary turn of events, slowly came to understand the profound depth of their connection. Children and grandchildren witnessed the radiant happiness that emanated from Emma and Sebastian, the renewed spark in their eyes, the undeniable joy of a love that had finally found its way home. What began as curiosity evolved into acceptance, and then into a quiet celebration of this beautiful, inspiring second chance at love. Their story became a living testament to the belief that destiny, though sometimes circuitous, always finds its way. As the seasons turned, painting the American landscape with ever-changing beauty, Emma and Sebastian found a deep peace in their shared existence. They would often sit on her porch swing, the gentle creak of the wood a soothing rhythm, their hands clasped, their hearts full. Emma would sometimes recall the quiet ache she had carried for so long, the unspoken question of whether true, consuming love was still possible. And then she would look at Sebastian, his profile etched against the setting sun, and know that the love they had found now was not just a memory reawakened, but a glorious culmination, a love that had matured, deepened, and become infinitely more precious. The letter, once a symbol of loss, was now a beacon of hope, a testament to the enduring power of a love that had refused to be extinguished. It had been a confession lost in time, but now it was a love reclaimed, a profound, overwhelming passion that had defied decades of separation. Their story, etched in the quiet beauty of their American home, became a timeless melody, a testament to the enduring power of two souls whose love, intense and poetic, had finally found its voice, proving that some connections are simply meant to be, regardless of the detours life may take. It was a love that healed old wounds, renewed spirits, and proved unequivocally that it is never too late for a second chance at an intense, heart-accelerating, and utterly glorious love. Once a youthful promise lost to a cruel twist of fate, ultimately found its voice after decades of silence. The letter he never sent became the bridge that finally reunited their hearts, proving that some loves are simply meant to be, waiting patiently for their moment to bloom anew. Their journey reminds us that even after years of quiet solitude, the heart retains an infinite capacity for renewal, for a passion so strong, it feels like a second spring. If Emma and Sebastian's journey touched your heart, if it made you believe even more in the power of destiny and the beauty of a love reclaimed, please leave a like and share this video with someone who needs this message of hope. And I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Do you believe that true love can find its way back to you, no matter how much time has passed? Subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss more stories that remind us of the timeless beauty and complexity of the human heart. Thank you for being with us on this emotional journey,